Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman by heading over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hypecast mit Tom Reimann und David Bell.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of Hypecast.
Hypecast.
It's the show where we get hyped about stuff and things. I'm your co-host, Tom Ryman.
I am your other co-host, David Bell.
And a third person.
This is Jason's. I don't know if I was supposed to be shouting Hypecast with you guys. I know I've done this show before, but the exact moment when it's supposed to become apparent to the listener that I'm here is never totally clear. So,
oh yeah,
I don't know if I was supposed to be hyping everybody up with the name of the show at the start.
No, what you're doing,
doing
right now is exactly what we want you to do.
Yeah, our show is fundamentally designed to make the guests immediately uncomfortable and confused,
and scared.
Of hey.
Hey, new listeners, I'm professional podcast guest Jason Pargin, former executive editor at Cracked and also author.
Welcome. Thank you for being on.
Yes, thank you for doing the show.
I got to ask right off the top, even before we get into our jam-packed agenda for the show, I got to ask, this is the Hypecast. Is there any piece of media either of you guys is like truly hyped for, like counting down the days for? Like you really got it, like your year, like the way like people were hyped with the new Star Wars reboots before they knew,
Right.
There's, that's an interesting question that I was actually going to bring up when we start talking about the E3 stuff in a second. But the short answer is no.
Yeah, it's the same for me.
I'm hyped for the Green Knight. I'm hyped for a lot of horror that comes and goes. And if we're talking E3, no one else is, but I'm very hyped for Stalker 2. A game that I didn't even bother to put on this list because it's not enough interest.
Because it's Stalker 2.
I loved Stalker, and I waited a long time for Stalker to come out.
You and about 2,000 other people really like Stalker.
Is it a game where you're like a creepy dude following a woman around her, going through her garbage?
Yeah.
Like showing up at her workplace. And
Hammer X to reassemble her mail.
It's all right. It's a game that takes place in the future in Chernobyl, where your job is to it's a first-person shooter essentially, and you're going around doing jobs for people in this big wasteland. And at the time, I was like, "This is amazing! It's open world." I have this very vivid memory of the graphics being amazing. I recently replayed the game. They are not amazing. But there's a real creepiness and vibe to it. It's like I think it's what people like about Fallout. I don't even know if it came before Fallout, but it's very similar. It took so long to be released the first time that the fan page for Stalker, the person running it, the last post was about how they're just moving to India and forgetting everything. And they had a real existential crisis because the game took 7 years to come out. And it was constant promises. But when it came out, it was amazing. And now there's a sequel that's coming in a year. And no one needs to care about it, but I do.
Sure.
And I'm excited.
I don't know if I'm just getting older or if media, the nature of media is just so much more segmented and splintered now. Because that's a niche game. But I'm trying to think back of the big pop culture landmarks. the new Star Wars movies, when the trailers were coming out and all of that, what was the first one?
Force Awakens?
Yeah, Force Awakens. Like, there was legitimate, like, we all want to see how this turns out. Like, even if you weren't necessarily thrilled they were making more Star Wars, it was like a legitimate thing. And when Skyrim was coming out, that was a legitimate thing. When Grand Theft Auto 5, like there are these landmark games, shows, movies where it's like I'm really eager to see what this is, how it turned out. And I'm scanning the horizon, not just on this doc, but just in general. And I know for some people that'll be Breath of the Wild too, but even that it's a sequel. It's more Breath of the Wild. It's not like there's these hints of it could be something truly new or something like where it's like, oh my God, I can't wait to get my hands on this. I don't have anything like that. And there's not been that many points in my life where I've not had something.
I think we've gotten more cynical about pop culture since like Star Wars Episode 1. After that, we were all like, okay, so I guess movies can really lie to us.
Movies can really be bad. Let's put a quick pin in that because let's get through these producer names and then let's get into that because I did want to talk about this specific topic, so I'm glad it was brought up. But let's get through these producer nods first. I
didn't mean to hijack your agenda. You have this all planned out. You have a format, and all right.
No, you're looking at the same doc as me, Jason.
No, our format does start with like brief introductions. Yeah. This is all it's all according. We're doing great. We're doing great.
No, we're doing great. This is great. This is all great radio. Yeah.
Yeah, listen.
My typical 9-minute introduction that listeners have gotten used to.
Yeah. Look, we have some producers.
We do. Yeah.
And I would like to do some shout outs. Special thanks to Del Griffith, the shower curtain fella. Thank you to Lex. Thank you to Seismic Charge Noise. It's the Boba Fett one. Thank you to Jake. Thank you to Numino Ultra Microscopic Silico Volcano Coniosis Jones. Thank you very much for all of that. Jason, I've had a lot of practice on that one. Yeah. Thank you to the baby from Eraserhead. Thank you.
Always.
Thank you to Chiz Lily Tits. Thank you. Thank you to These 7 Bs. Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
Thank you to Barizi Ruizi. Thank you. Thank you to Davey Francis for The Revenge. Thank you to MVB. Thank you very much.
Cool. Let me jump in here and get the rest of these. Thank you to Chester's Prophet. Thank you to definitely not Guillermo del Toro.
Of course.
Thank you to Brian, who Tom knows.
It's true.
Thank you to Bob Grenville.
Thank you.
Thank you to Steven. Thank you to Down Home Chicken.
Peacock.
Thank you to Han Toomey, the Confused Cyborg.
Thank you.
Thank you to Asking Seven.
Thank you.
Thank you to Hey Fuck You, I'm Happy Ed.
Thank you.
Thanks to Dracula, the bus driving vampire.
Thank you.
Thank you to Tiger Drawers, Pratt Thompson. Raindrops keep falling on my head. Not singing it this week. Not feeling it. Thank you to Dan Hackroyd.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Sorry, it's tired. It's so hot outside.
It's so hot.
I'm not feeling like singing about rain right now.
Yeah.
It's cool.
God.
Okay, so like we were kind of hinting at the beginning, E3 was this week, so we're kind of light on new movie trailers this week, but we got a lot of video game stuff from E3, which connects. I had the same experience that Jason was bringing up watching E3 this year, and I was getting a little bit of it last year, but yeah, this year it's definitely like I don't get it. It's hard for me to get excited about. Particularly about video games. Like I still will with movies and stuff, which we're going to get to, but like I was wondering if it's because I'm getting older that it's just I've played so many video games at this point in my life that it's just like I can already look at a video game, and even if it's something that's like this is going to revolutionize how you play and here's how, like I can already tell exactly what the experience is going to be like, and it's like 99% of the time it's an experience I've had before.
Yes. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
AAA games have never looked better and are just terrible lately, I feel like. This is personal opinion. The games that have wowed me are, for example, Phasmophobia, which is on Steam.
Yeah,
indie games that
$15 indie game in early access.
Yeah, games that it's like, I've never seen this done before. And much like how movies work, the big money makers, they're like, yeah, open world, third person, first person shooter.
Yeah.
It's all basically the same thing.
With like skill trees and stuff. They're the action RPG element.
Yeah, exactly. To the point that, as Jason pointed out, there's no GTA 6 advertised here because they're still just doing
They're making
GTA
so
5.
much money on GTA Online. Like, why would they ever stop?
Yeah.
It was like the last, I brought that up in the intro because Grand Theft Auto 5, like each of these games were like, here's now what's possible on these new machines. Mm-hmm. The Grand Theft Auto games, the breadth of the world, the size, the graphics, these games cost $500 million to make. They were always the benchmark of this is what games can do now. And, the humorous, horrible, and the gameplay is always janky. But I've got a lot of hours in GTA games because I would just go out and jet ski for a while. And there's just always stuff to do. And it's fun. So the fact that there's no GTA 6, as far as I know, they're not even working on one. They might be. And I know they just did Red Dead Redemption 2, but all of those teams, I think, are just pumping out new material for GTA Online, and this is where I guess how we know we're out of touch. Because if you go look on Twitch, which I guess is where people go to watch video games, and so that's what the kids are into, they are playing, GTA Online role-playing, Minecraft, Among Us, some Fall Guys still, a ton of Call of Duty, Warzone. It's all of this stuff where it's like you and either 200 strangers or you and a bunch of friends, and you're making your own fun, because the GTA Online stuff, I don't know if people know, like the whole role-playing thing there is fascinating, but it's not my thing. I don't need that new kind of social anxiety in my life where I have to play video games in front of
the hardcore RPG.
Oh, yeah.
Dave, you and Abe crashed a server as pigs, right?
I was about to say they got very angry with me and Abe Epperson when we found out you could role play. You could choose animals, and we chose 2 boars and walked around being like, "Yeah, we're fucking boars. What's up?" And they did not care for our boar role play at all. We thought it was great, but yeah, they take it very seriously.
Yeah.
And I will say, they take it seriously, but they still have a sense of humor, I want to note, because when you're like, if you roleplay in that world, but as a chuckle fuck, as long as you're keeping the roleplay going, they will roll with it. They'll be like, oh, yeah, sure, these guys, like some of these servers are just happy to see strangers because it's the same 10 people. It's a whole complicated and weird world that, like, I did it a little bit, but like you said, Jason, it's exhausting to, like, I don't know, try to keep that up.
Well, you're performing. You got to be on.
Yeah.
Which is exhausting.
It's fine. It's just, I guess, again, maybe it's just an age thing because of the schedule and the amount of energy we have to devote to it. We're looking for the stuff that people were excited about at one time, like Beyond Good and Evil 2 was a game that people wanted for feels like 20 years.
Yeah.
And they came out with that trailer at E3 2017. It's like, yes, finally they're working on it. And now there's like that project lead left, I think. I have no idea if it's ever going to come out. But also, I don't know if anybody cares that it's not coming out.
Right.
I would love a new Dead Rising game. That franchise is completely dead as far as I know. There's no Part 5 being worked on. Like the stuff that I used to think of as... Because again, Dead Rising, this is ancient history, but when the Xbox 360 came out, game that can give you 10,000 zombies to kill, that was the big system. Like, look at what this hardware can do. So once upon a time, that franchise was like, hey, this is the new benchmark, but it's long forgotten now.
Right. Yeah. Are you familiar with Rust, Jason? Because that's a game kind of on the up. That's feels like where games are going now, and it is exhausting. And it does feel, it's not necessarily age, but it's time, Where like Rust is a game.
I think time is related to age, especially when we're talking about video games. Yeah,
it usually is. But like, you know, if you're unemployed during the pandemic and you're like, well, I got a lot of time, Rust would be perfect because it's a game that literally punishes you for not playing it. You have to build a fort. Yeah, you have to build a fort in the game, and the fort degrades unless you log in and add more supplies to the fort. So it sucks you in this way that's terrifying. And I could see being a teenager on your summer break, you know, being able to get into that. But like, yeah, at my age, like I played Rust for like maybe a couple months with some people, and then we were like, we can't do this. It's exhausting.
Yeah, I think the common thread here is it's games as a service is what's happening.
Yeah.
Right now.
And as games as your social life.
Yes.
Like if you're playing Among Us every weekend with your friends and you have, you know, your teenagers, you got time. Like you spend a certain amount of your energy and time to socializing and making friends and meeting people. And gaming is where that happens now. Yeah. Instead of when I was, you know, that age and it was all about going to the clubs. You know, I was always at the
clubs.
Always at the club. Now they made a Rust competitor starring Conan the Barbarian, in which you could give your character a gigantic dong.
I know, and the game sucked.
Oh, is it still out? Did they shut it down?
Yeah, it's still out there. You can't increase your dong size in the console version, which is a drag. But they're still updating it. It's like Rust, it's such a hardcore survival game that it's off-putting to new players.
Right. Yeah, a lot of these games, the first time I played Rust was alone, and it lasted less than an hour, and it ended with me going, okay, I guess fuck me, and closing the game.
Yeah.
And being like, all right, I guess, you know, everybody sucks, and I hate it. You definitely have to pick up these games, like, with a group. Mm-hmm. And be prepared to, like, even then be horribly frustrated. And I get the appeal because they're trying to create their own almost cinematic moments within the game organically.
Yeah. Organically, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's stuff in between, like Subnautica, which is, like, on rails but open world. So, but yeah, survival games, man. People love them right now, including me.
Well, even the Battle Royale games create those moments. Like you get down to the final 5 people in Fortnite or PUBG or any of the many BR like knockoffs, and it organically creates these incredibly tense moments where the area is shrinking and the play area is shrinking. You've all invested an hour in staying alive, and it's just you versus the other people who were good enough. It's stuff that you couldn't script as well if it was just a story-based. You know, if you were playing like an Uncharted 4 and doing this big action set piece, it would not be as tense as that moment when you're up against 4 other actual human beings who all want to win as badly as you do. It's just that those final 4 people all have 2,000 hours in the game.
Yeah.
And they've powered up all the gear and they've got the custom skins in Fortnite. It's John Wick or whatever. Because you can watch streams of people playing Fortnite and it's like pro athletes and all of it get in on it. And it creates like great organic moments, but it's that point where the gaming industry realized, oh, we can save a bunch of money just by letting people write their own stories because GTA Online just prints money.
Yes, God. And I don't know, E3 this year felt like it was either a combination of like, Battlefield, which is trying to be that, or games that feel kind of behind.
Yeah, let's start talking about some of these specific trailers.
Avatar,
Frontiers of Pandora. Sure. I mean, an Avatar video game makes sense. An Avatar video game 13 years after the movie came out, it's a little strange. I mean, I know they're gearing up for the sequels, which are going to come out any day now. Mm-hmm. Promise. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like we keep trying to make Avatar happen, and it's going to be fascinating when these sequels finally come out.
When's the next movie come out?
Apparently next Christmas, next December.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see, because that's like the 6th time the dates have been moved.
This trailer for the game is nothing. It's just clips from the movie
Yeah.
or they could be scenes from the movie. It's like they climb on the dragon thing and the flying monster thing, and they do Avatar stuff. It doesn't look cutting edge, the graphics, at least not on YouTube. It doesn't. It looks like something that could have been PS4.
Yes.
It's Ubisoft, so is it going to be a thing where we've got a map and we unlock towers to reveal more of the map, and there's 8 million side missions to go do? Is that going to be the format?
Probably.
I think so. On the Ubisoft webpage, they describe it as a first-person action-adventure game. I'm very surprised by first-person, because are you playing as a human in this? Because I sure hope not. And it feels like to be one of these aliens.
Exterminating the...
Yeah.
I can't even remember the name of the...
flamethrower through the jungle.
Oh, yeah, can I be Giovanni Ribisi and just like destroy the planet?
Just clearing out the map
its...
to subdue Pandora for development. So
tear
oil companies
tear the unobtainium from the hands of infant Pandorians.
Yeah.
Like, Far Cry 6 is coming out. I'll buy it.
Sure.
They're fine. Those games are fine. It's a very mindless thing of just slowly clearing all of your errands. It's just you got your to-do list. You just go do it, and it's fine.
Errand sim. Yeah.
The same as the Assassin's Creed. It's like there's reason they can crank out these games at the rate of one a year. It's like, here's 200 more errands for you to run as your guy. Here's a camp for you to clear. Here's a some stealth kills. That's fine.
I didn't get too far in the new Assassin's Creed, but like the only mini mission, because the map was already starting like packed with them, and the only one I did was this woman by a lake, and she was like, I dropped my hairbrush in the lake, and you have to just dive to the bottom and get it, and that's it. And I was like, come on, guys, why did we need this? Like, why did we need this mini game? It's like they just are trying to cram as many as they possibly can. And I don't know the point of it. It's just to make people compulsively have to clear their maps, right?
Yeah, it's
like
to give players something more to do. The goal here is to keep everybody playing for as long as possible.
Right. It's weird that like the one AAA game I will say that really stood out was of course Red Dead 2, and it feels like more games should take a cue from them, which is like their mini games happened organically, which was really impressive, you know? Like, you would be riding your horse and someone would stop you on the side of the road and have something for you to do. That was really smart because it made the world feel big, that the things just happened to you, as opposed to, like, go to this marking on the map and a thing will happen and it'll always be there. It'll never not happen. You can go there at any time of day and they'll be there waiting, waving their arms for help. You know what I mean? Like... I don't know. If
the hairbrush is not going to swim back up to her, Dave. She's got to wait there for some hero, some champion of legend to come help her get her hairbrush.
Get her brush.
That said, I would be shocked if there's ever a Red Dead Redemption 3. Like, I don't know that they're still in the business of making that game. If you look at the amount of money they made from that versus what they spent, versus what they'll make from just updating Red Dead Online forever, I don't know if they'll... I don't know, because Battlefield doesn't have a first-player campaign. Why?
Yeah.
Why bother?
So, yeah, we have the new Battlefield trailer, too, and... Yeah, it's Call of Duty feels the same way, where they're just like...
Yeah.
The last Call of Duty, the campaign is like an afterthought. And I used to play those games for the campaigns. They were amazing campaigns. And they don't. Yeah,
and I was under the impression that like half the players were, but I think it's just a cost thing. The cost to do it versus how much money you can make just by, because like the Warzone is I think the name of the battle royale, the Call of Duty battle royale, and that's free to play. But of course, there's the endless microtransactions where you can purchase trinkets for your gun and outfits and all that stuff, and it's just free money. You got to maintain the servers and occasionally update, but it's just constantly all of these games is people complaining about hackers and cheaters and all of that, and because it's like, well, they don't really care, and it's like, well, yeah, they don't, because you're going to keep playing it and you're going to buy an outfit for your character that doesn't exist, that you're going to pay real money for it, and like Fortnite, I have no idea how much they've made from Fortnite, but it has to have made more money
billions.
than any movie franchise in history. Like, it's just astonishing. So, okay, this is where gaming is. I think, because like I own a PlayStation 5 that I bought because one day my Best Buy somehow got like six of them in, and I just walked out with one.
Right.
But it's not that, like, I get that there's no games when the console first comes out. That's fine. But this E3, after the consoles have shown up, that following E3 is usually dazzling.
Yeah, when you start to see like the real, this is everything that people were still working on when the console launched. Yeah,
is going to show up in year 2 or 3. This is this is where GTA 3 showed up in the PS2 cycle. This is where like the big hitters, the machine's been around long enough. They've had time to develop for it. And this is where the stuff that really looks next gen, because the first round of games just look like slightly sharper last gen. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see that at this show. I didn't see even like concept trailer stuff, the stuff that's 3 years away, but it's like, well, here's the thing that's coming. I didn't even see that myself. I could have missed it.
And no, I didn't see anything either.
Yeah, I know some developers and publishers were sitting this year out just because last year was such a and it's I think
Sony
a similar
wasn't
thing
there at all, right?
No, and like Nintendo's never there. They do their own thing. But like it's with this and with like Comic-Con last year and this year, I think a lot of people just aren't presenting because they figure, well, why? It's they try to throw the same event digitally and they end up getting like 2,000 viewers. Although I think this one did pretty well, this E3. But anyway, that could be a factor this year, but who knows?
I don't know. Yeah. It's just like, I can't stress enough that this year, the game that blew me away more than any was a game made by, I believe, like 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, sure.
Where you just go into a house and you ghost hunt. And it was like, I've never seen anything like this, where you go in with like the ghost hunting equipment that you see on the dumb TV shows, mm-hmm. and you're just trying to detect a ghost. And it's really creepy. And like, that game, they're still updating it and so on and so forth. And that's like, it's got bugs. It's not a perfect game, but it was like, I've just never seen anything this innovative. And all it took is like one person thinking it up. And like, imagine if this person got the budget of one of these games. So like, yeah, this Avatar thing, it's just like, Jesus, like, this is all you got. Or like the Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy, it looks like it's just kind of an on rails.
Yeah,
it looks fine. It's a third person action game. It's fine. It looks like it could have been on the PS4 3 years ago.
Yeah,
it's the cutscenes are, they don't have the likenesses to the actors, so you got a thing where it's the same. They're using the movie version of these characters, like their personalities, but they can't.
They can't look like
Chris Pratt. And,
yeah. It's the same thing with their Avengers game that just came out.
Yeah, it'll be. This will probably. I don't know if it'll be a live service game. I don't know. I just assume they all are or all will be at some point. I know Ubisoft just straight up came out and said this is where it's going. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't want to be the old man. Like games suck now, but it's. I bought a PlayStation 5 because that's what I do. I buy the new machine when it comes out.
Right.
I didn't even really like ponder the purchase. It's just, this is what you do. It's the new machine is here and you buy it, consumer. This is how it works. We've not given you any kind of a reason to do that, but that's not how capitalism. We don't buy things because we need them.
Right.
That's not the system we're in.
I did the opposite. I've yet to buy one, and I'm not resisting it. I just haven't had a reason to. They haven't showed me a game where I'm like, oh, like I think Horizon, that sequel will be the thing that'll make me buy it. Like, I'm not holding out or anything, but I just think that I don't think it's about getting older. I think gaming has just gotten more fragmented like everything else. Like, just having spent a lot of time on Steam, I for the first time have a PC that I can play games with, and there's just so much there.
There's a lot on PC. Yeah. I think it. Yeah, definitely. It's everything we consume now is so curated. So I think that's definitely a part of it.
And if you like a game, there's games that's just like, this game is $15 and you're going to spend a year playing it, you know?
I also, I don't know if you guys have had this problem with the last year. I've gotten real fatigued, just the act of playing video games, just period. Regardless of what game it is. I've probably played over the last like 14, 15 months, just like a lot of other people because we couldn't go anywhere. You know, an average of 6 to 8 hours of video games a day.
Oh, yeah.
For an entire year. And it's like, you know, it's like, man, 12-year-old me would be so excited. And it's like, it's definitely too much birthday. So,
yeah.
Like, I'm seeing all these new games, and it's just like, I don't care about any of this. I know exactly what all of these experiences are going to be.
Right. It's just... Yeah, I think there's a bit of that with movies, and that I think that has to do with getting older. As you start, you're like, yeah, I've seen it all, you know?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of things, so, like, in order to get me excited, I want to, you know, I need something that's just unique that I haven't seen before, and that's getting harder.
Well, with video games, the technology always carried that. The whole thing was, because with movies... You know, we weren't like waiting for them to invent new kinds of movies. It was always about the new franchise, the new actor, the new star. But with video games, it was always about, well, the next round of hardware. You know, and you can mark, you know, the Nintendo 64 brought 3D to gaming, and then the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 brought the open world games for the first time, where you've got, you know, this enormous map. Like the truly new format of game. Like, still everything is open world, or like there's these few, and I think a lot of people hope that the VR that would be that. I've never felt motivated to get a VR headset for the PlayStation or one of the PC headsets. Like, that's just not, there's no way to fit that into my lifestyle.
Right.
So if that's the next technological leap, like, I think that'll always be a niche product for like high-end players, hobbyists. But
I think it'll continue getting more affordable, but yeah, it's definitely, the format itself is just limited to what it can do.
You can't play it as long.
Yeah.
It's never even. I think the same thing about, like, even if we got to the holodeck technology, it was like,
that's
you
the
want to
goal.
go,
That's
like,
what all of this is for, Dave.
Right, but if someone was like, you want to go to the holodeck and like sword fight, it's like, no, I want to sit on my couch and do that. Like, I can just sit on my couch and do that. That's what we get. Like, doing an activity. I have VR, and I use it because during the pandemic, I got an Oculus and I got Beat Saber, and it kept me moving while being stuck indoors. And that's what VR really is good for, is like, it's like future exercise. It's like, oh, this is cool. You're like, I feel like I'm in fucking the movie Hackers here doing Beat Saber. And there's a value to that, and it also is very similar to going on. There's a lot of VR that's just like, you sit and go on this ride, like, here's the blast off to the moon experience, you know. So it kind of takes the place of like theme parks more than it takes the place of video games. I think
So.
Yeah, which is, when you think of it as like bringing a theme park to your house. That's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool, yeah. It's
yeah,
but it's never gonna be. I agree with Jason. It's never going to like take the place of like your primary console or machine.
No.
At least not for a while.
And even through this entire discussion, we've completely ignored the biggest market now, which is mobile.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I don't. I spend so much time staring at my phone anyway. I've never played a mobile game that didn't make me kind of feel like I had wasted my time. It's just like, oh, this is a mindless piece of software that's trying to lure me into a trance versus like taking me on some sort of wondrous journey or whatever.
Yeah, you don't get the part of why I play, and I think I've heard you say this before too, Jason, but part of the reason why I like playing video games is immersion. Like, I like to be, I like the transportive experience that the games can have. And you don't get that with the mobile phone game.
Yeah, and if you go into the app store to shop for like what's the new good game, like, oh, good luck. Good luck trying to sift through the stuff that's like shady and the stuff that's the shady revenue model, and it's like, good luck trying to actually find, you know, there's a million imitators that all looks like the same game. It's just such a, I sometimes feel like that way when trying to shop on Steam, because it's so hard to tell the difference between, is this an actual good game or is this like a half-finished thing?
Right.
And it's so overwhelming because it's, I don't know. I guess I'm just used to somebody telling me this is the new big game that you're going to buy.
Right.
But those days are probably.
I need to see the Nintendo official seal of quality.
VR. That's the scary thing about VR. VR is very much like kind of leaning in the mobile direction, where you can find these games that are cheaply made VR that are feel very similar to mobile apps. In that it's still the novelty of its VR, So they're like, look at this, it's a luge simulator.
Yeah, I mean, I'd play
only
that.
$5, and it's like, okay,
I guess I'm buying a luge simulator for $5. It is interesting that they pivoted away from. Mobile is still obviously it's a big market and it still generates money, but it's not like the future of gaming like so many companies claimed it was 5-6 years ago.
What is wild is I played the Call of Duty mobile game. It is shockingly like Call of Duty. Like you're playing online with other people.
I've played Fortnite on the phone. Yeah, it works pretty well.
Yeah,
these are powerful machines these days.
Yeah, they're miracle devices that we just carry around and take for granted.
Yeah. The final trailer here, Atomic Heart, that I included.
We've been talking about this since the Hypecast began, Dave.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, really? So what's the story with it?
It's Russian. It's like a Russian game that looks like a mix between Fallout and what is that? The Outer Worlds.
Right. Yeah.
It's like that.
It's definitely Stalker vibes, where they're like, ready any minute now.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put it out soon. But it looks.
It looks great. It's just,
I
feel like it's the third or fourth trailer we've talked about since 2018.
Right, and I don't want to go. It looks great, but it isn't necessarily innovative because it's kind of it's that thing where the gameplay looks like every other game.
Yeah, it looks like BioShock.
It just looks nice, and that's something, Like, there's value to that. What was the game where you're psychic and you're flipping things around and you're in that building, that office building?
Control.
Yeah, that was one of those games where ultimately it's like it's no different than being like playing a Star Wars game, but it's just a very unique setting, and there's a value to that.
Yeah, the setting is like a movie. The setting is important, and I enjoy the setting of this game.
Yeah, I do too. And if it has a good story, then good for like The Last of Us as a gameplay wise. It's not different than an Uncharted, but it's we play it because of the story, and there's something unique from it.
Those games are funny to me because like I often get irritated when it makes me play. Like I just want to keep watching this story.
Yeah, they're like, you have to get past this.
It's like, God damn it! I just want to see what happens next.
Yeah.
Especially if you enter in this little courtyard and there's a bunch of little waist-high walls there.
Yeah, yep.
And it's like, oh, okay. It's gonna be, I'm going to have to kill 75 people in cover-based, one at a time cover-based combat.
Tedious ass shooting, cover shooting.
So, but no... Are they making another Witcher game? Is it a Witcher 4? I know that Cyberpunk 2077 was the last when we were talking about big properties people were excited about. That had been the one for several years for a whole bunch of people. Are they doing another Witcher game? Or are they out of the Witcher business?
I know they just renegotiated with the creator of The Witcher so that because he kind of got boned. I don't know if you've ever read about that. He sold the rights basically to CD Projekt Red for a song, and then like that franchise is huge because of the video games. Like that, I don't think anybody would argue with that. But he wasn't making as much, and there was some beef between them for a while. But they recently renegotiated with him, which they haven't announced anything. But a lot of people agree that it's probably a good sign that they want to make more games.
But there's no that could be.
It could be
PlayStation 6.
8 years from now. Yeah, exactly. It could be the next Cyberpunk, literally. We're waiting 8 years for it.
Yeah, we could be living in Cyberpunk universe when that comes out. It could be out for holodeck. All right. Before we get into movies, any other E3 things? Anything?
There's
any
a new
games?
2D Metroid Dread, which I'm sure will be extremely polished and very good. I think my reflexes have gotten too old and degraded for it to be anything but frustrating to me, because when I was a teenager playing whichever Metroid that I played on Super NES and
nailing those Super Metroid.
Nailing those wall jumps after 655 attempts. Not something I have the patience to do now.
Yeah. That is the game. I already knew Stalker 2 was coming out, so this is the game of E3 that made me go, ooh.
Yeah, this is the one, because Nintendo does this every goddamn... Nobody hates their own fan base more than Nintendo. They always give you not what you want. Like, they give you like enough of what you want, but not quite to like make it like shitty.
Right.
So like for like so many years they kept being like, it's a new Metroid game and it's first person. You're like, what is this?
Yeah, the fuck is wrong with you?
And then like last year they were like, it's a new 2D Metroid game that's a remake of an older game and it's only coming out on the DS. Like, what are you doing?
Why do you hate us?
And like this year, like they keep not bringing the shop channel to Switch, so it's like there's so many, like all the games you could get on the Wii shop channel, which is like all the big ones from 64, like Super Mario, Ocarina of Time, everything. Like 95% of those cool, awesome games that were a big reason for at least all of my friends to buy Nintendo systems is because you have access to the Nintendo shop that has all of the old games on it. They refuse to bring any of those to the Switch. So like people were coming into this year being like, okay, Ocarina of Time, they did Mario 64 last year. They've got to do Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask this year because that's like the big one that everybody's waiting for.
Right.
Outside of like GoldenEye, which is not going to happen because of licensing issues.
Right.
But so like they don't say shit about Zelda. They're like, here's some Breath of the Wild stuff that comes out next year. Nothing about Ocarina of Time. But then they dropped this Metroid game on us, which is cool and is what people have wanted for a long time. But it's like not quite. I don't know. Nintendo's bizarre.
I feel like PlayStation is better about being like, yeah, here's a bunch of our old games. We're not going to ask you for much. Nintendo is like, hey, remember how you spent $60 on Mario 64? Don't you want to spend $60 again for it? Like, I get that they wrapped it in a bunch of other games.
Yeah.
But I had been waiting for so goddamn long just for Mario 64.
Yeah.
And then this is how they gave it, and it's like, fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that it does feel like the story of Nintendo.
That is
a
what
lot of
they do.
Yeah. But gotta play Mario.
Yeah, that's like the Nintendo motto is, what are you going to do, not buy it?
Exactly.
It's like, fine. I guess I'll buy Mario 64 for the 5th time in my life.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I have no
Nintendo.
one to blame but myself.
Yeah, and Nintendo.
And Nintendo.
But yeah, Metroid, I'll play the shit out of this on Switch.
Yeah.
I was very resistant of Switch for a while, and I've been seeing the value. Hades is what did it for me, where I was like, oh, I can sit in bed and play Hades. Mm-hmm. I get it. I absolutely get this little device and the value. But until that point, I was like, yeah, just put it on the TV, you know? I don't know.
It's great when you have to travel.
Yeah, oh yeah, getting on a plane. Oh, wonderful. Good stuff. So I'm going to give us a slow transition to movies with a movie based on a game.
Yeah, Dynasty Warriors.
Dynasty Warriors.
Unless this is this a show?
I don't know. I don't know why this is happening, but I'm not against it. What do you guys think?
I think it has that weird digital cheapness that so many Netflix originals have. We've probably brought it up on this show before. Because there's whole theories about it. Because The Witcher looked cheap for its budget. That Jupiter's Legacy show, and I've pasted in a screenshot.
Yeah, you did.
Like, that show cost $200 million according to rumor, and does not look like it cost $200 million. It looked like somebody embezzled that money. And like the guy, I don't know if that's Jupiter in the center there. Some of you listening, if you've never seen, go Google it. The guy has a really flat crotch, but not in the way you're thinking. It's like a polygonal cod piece.
It looks like the edge of a die, of a specialized die or something.
It's just weird. But even like the Witcher, like there's something with the lighting that's very flat, where even if they're shooting outdoors, it looks like a soundstage. And these costumes are not cheap, but they're made to look cheap. These sets are not cheap. They look cheap. And there's something with the digital format Netflix requires, or the encoding, or something that gives this weird... I don't see it in Stranger Things, but in a lot of other Netflix original shows or stuff, even stuff they've bought, it's got this weird... I don't even know how to describe it. It's not... Because it's cheap, but it's cheap in a way that it's like too... clean or something.
It's people had that complaint when the first Hobbit came out, and I wonder if it's a similar problem, because the issue there was like the resolution was too high, or like the something. It was something
that was
about
the frame rate. It was 60 frames per second.
There you go.
That was a very different specific issue, because that was a television frame rate on that, so people were like feeling like they're watching a soap opera. It just like. It's funny how film works, because film is like 24 frames per second, and when you up that, we start thinking about video, even though that's technically, more frames. That's got to be better, right? But there's a certain, like, I don't know, where our brains are used to seeing like grainy film, or like kind of out of focus, and when it starts getting like sharp and crisp, and you can see every frame, it just doesn't feel cinematic to us, and it's funny how that works.
Yeah,
like it's not necessarily fair, but it with the Hobbit, they're like, come on, it's beautiful, and it's like it just looks wrong. And then when like you look at the matte paintings in the Lord of the Rings, or the models, versus these like ultra sharp CGI models that they did in the Hobbit, and you're like, this looks worse. It just looks worse.
The softness of the film grain used to hide a lot of flaws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it made, those costumes, if you saw them in person, it would be clear that it's a costume. But in a film, lit like a film, it hides it, it makes it look more real or whatever. But like if you anyone listening to this, you can just Google screen grabs of Jupiter's Legacy, and you'll see what I mean. It's too clearly a costume. You can see the plastic. And I felt like the Hobbit movies were like that too. There were shots where it was so clear which of this is a digital effect, which of this is a matte painting, and which of this is a physical set, because the resolution is so high and it's so clear. It's like, oh, I can see the distinction. This green rock in the foreground is a painted piece of wood or something, and that stuff in the background is a digital matte painting. And they're standing in front of a green screen. You could see it. It didn't matter that they spent $200 million on it. You could see like the demarcation, because it's too clear, and the quality of the sets and stuff don't necessarily keep up with it. And I think like with The Mandalorian, they had that new technique where they're shooting in front of like a literal, just a big movie screen. Yeah, and I think that was their attempt to like defeat that, because it's like, well, it's actually, we can control the resolution of the set behind them. And so it all kind of looks like it's more all part of the same world or something.
Oh yeah, I know that things like when we went to digital and things got more high def, like people like makeup artists were like, oh shit,
yeah,
like because I remember the first time I noticed was watching the Matrix sequel, which is shot on film. I just looked it up, but I remember being like, oh, I can see their makeup, like they are wearing makeup, and it just became very obvious.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like when you were talking to the ADI guys about the Thing remake, there's a lot of like filmmaking tricks and techniques that are built around taking advantage of the limitations of film.
Right.
And you don't get that when you watch these like 4K resolution shows like Jupiter's Legacy, where it looks like you're sitting on stage.
Yeah. And there's yeah, now that everything's done so digitally, I think I like that Lion King remake, where it's like, oh, this is looks like lions,
That wasn't
singing.
the only problem with that.
Yeah,
It's the fact that digital lions can't emote. They can't make facial expressions.
It's one of those where it's like, maybe you should have made this less realistic.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard to pin it down because it's a series of things.
Yeah.
I think it's how digital effects work. I think it's like where the budget goes to, the fact that they're looking for like, you know, the people who can do the lowest bidding on the visual effects. They go to different places for the visual effects. Like the directors, the people in charge, they don't really get to really like have that like. It's that thing where they're shooting and they're like, okay, we're already rendering what this is going to look like in the background. And to be a director and to look at something and be like, I want it differently. They're like, okay, you understand that's going to cost us like 3 months. Like it's the rendering
3
times,
months
it's the
and
process.
like $20 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like the process is so different. And you'd think they'd care more about pre-production for that reason, but they don't really seem to. And I don't know. It's again, it's hard to pin down one thing, and it's different for every production. I feel like. So.
But this is, I guess, this feels. The thing I'm pointing out is like almost specifically a Netflix thing. Like I don't see it in The Boys on Amazon Prime. I don't see it on any Disney Plus shows. There's something about Netflix for whatever reason that I don't know, maybe it's just me, but there's like a specific cheapness to it, or just the way, I don't know, there's like a specifically unpleasant look to things.
They probably have like their own post-production process and like their own like. Because one of the big things is the people who do the coloring, like in post production, and the reason we've always talked about it, which is like why movies they all seem to look the same. Why do all the Marvel movies kind of all look the same? It's because they're hiring the same people, and they're doing the same process. So I bet there's a lot of that with Netflix. If this Dynasty Warriors, because I'm not sure if this is something that Netflix picked up after the fact. You know, like was made and then Netflix bought it. Mm-hmm. But I do think maybe they had a hand in the production of it. But it does feel like there's always this like conveyor belt that they all kind of go through. I know that like I think this is true when Netflix has documentaries. They'll often like when they buy the documentary, the B-roll, they can go back and like polish that. Which is why it's the same like drone footage of the town, you know, because they're sending people out. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they're like, okay, we bought this now. Now we're going to polish it a little bit. It's cheap. You just take the same person out to go do this thing. That's, I think what a lot of this stuff might be as well. But I'm not certain. I'm kind of talking out of my ass here.
That's fine. I mean, it sounds good.
It doesn't it? It
now
sounds great.
The Dynasty Warriors trailer itself. I mean, I'm gonna watch this. It looks absolutely bonkers, just like the games are.
Yeah, this was a trailer where like I saw it, but my brain didn't. There's just so much happening that I was like,
It's like trying to recall what happened at a specific moment during a car accident.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but this is what's weird about even having this conversation, because this next one we've got is another Netflix original. It's a movie called A Classic Horror Story. Mm-hmm. In both cases, normally when you watch a trailer, you're watching it because you're making a decision, will I go buy a ticket to see this?
Yeah.
Or will I pay to rent this from Blockbuster back in the olden days? Well, everyone listening to this, virtually everyone either has Netflix or you're borrowing a Netflix password from somebody. So what's the decision? Like, even the effort it took to watch the trailer, it's just as easy. Like, Netflix will just auto-feed you this movie when it comes out on their platform, no matter what. You'll just be watching something and then suddenly you'll be watching this movie. There's no decision to make because it'll just appear on your screen and either you'll continue watching it or you won't. But there's no, like, as a consumer, there's no decision to be made. It's free. Basically, you're already paying for Netflix. Like, there's no additional charge. So it's like the only investment is when Netflix makes this appear on my screen, do I stop it or do I just let it go? It's
right.
Like, fine. So like this, like we can sit here and talk about this movie. It could be clever. It's kind of weird how they presented it, but ultimately, as the listeners, it's like, well, who cares? I have Netflix. It'll pop up on my screen at some point. Yeah, I guess I'll. Am I sitting here worrying about whether or not I'm going to let this thing stay on my screen? It's free. I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah. Actually, that system they did where like they just start playing the movie. Personally, that resulted in me just going on Netflix less. Like, I only go on Netflix if I know what I want to watch.
Because it's such a... You feel harassed.
Yeah.
It's like, just let me... It's the reason why a clerk didn't follow you around Blockbuster trying to get you to rent things. It's like, just leave me alone and let me, like, browse.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'll surf on Hulu. I'll do the thing that Netflix was hoping we'd do. I'll do it on other surfaces because I don't have to be blasted by noise every time I put down the controller, you know? I don't have to be punished for not moving through their app. And it really seems counterintuitive to do that, but I don't know.
I mean, it's all algorithm based. I'm sure.
Yeah, I was about to say,
I'm sure a spreadsheet told them this was a good idea.
Yeah.
It's those same minutes watched metrics that had everybody fooled by Facebook, and everybody like YouTube content creators are driving themselves crazy because it's all about gaming the system and about, YouTube delivering you into, and I don't know. Netflix plays so much content to empty rooms. Yeah, or you fell asleep and it takes like an extra hour to ask you if you're still there or whatever.
A percentage of their customers are people who have died, right? Like,
and so they'll come out and they'll boast like, "Oh, the Queen's Gambit has been seen by 52 million people, the most since the Seinfeld finale." It's like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. You autoplayed it to 50 million of your 200 and some million users. And that's how many couldn't find their remote or whatever they're using to control it. They're in my case, I'm using my PlayStation 4 to watch it. I couldn't find the controller fast enough, and so it played 6 minutes of it. It's like, boom, successful watch. The same those goddamn video metrics they kept feeding us. It's like, wow, this got 2 million unique streams on Facebook. It's like, oh, you mean when people scrolled past it?
Yeah.
You played 3 seconds of the video before they continued scrolling. It's
right.
Like, no, it all counts. This will never come crashing down on us.
This is very real data. We're in no way manipulating it.
There's got to be a drinking game among people before the amount of time before I start complaining about the industry again.
But yeah, I think with this one, a classic horror story, this is a case of the opposite where, like, I think this was an indie film. I believe it's Italian horror film that I think just found a home at Netflix, and now they're advertising for it is this.
Yeah.
The title is a classic horror story. The only thing I can think of when they choose a title like that is they had to know anybody trying to Google that is screwed, right? Because it's literally the name of the movie is A Classic Horror Story.
Right. Yeah, and like you Google that, you're going to get hopefully like, I don't know, The Exorcist.
Well, or a billion reviews and posts using that phrase. Because I don't think this movie is a big enough deal to be the first result when somebody types the phrase "a classic horror story."
Right.
But
it's like,
I don't know.
It's like naming your movie "and." Like you just Googling it would just not work. Don't. But otherwise, I think this looks good. But I do think like the name, it clearly is telegraphing that it's going to be subversive.
It's like a cabin in the woods situation, like Jason called out in the notes.
And this is a hard thing I want to point out because the best subversive movies are the ones that I sit down not knowing.
Yeah, they don't tell you that they're subversive.
Right. But it's definitely a problem because a movie like You're Next. Whenever I tell people about it, they're like, "Really? I just thought that was like a dumb slasher." And it's like, "Yeah, you would because the trailer was in on the trick."
Yeah.
And so, like, they can't tell you that there's something cool in it, and therefore it might pass you by because you write it off as just another blank type of movie. So this is going the other way with it, and I don't know. I don't know. I get why they're doing it. I get that frustration, but this seems like when I know it's like watching a Saw movie. Like, you know there's a twist, so therefore you're constantly thinking about, okay, well, what's it going to be? And then it kind of ruins it.
Yeah, because you don't trust anything the movie's telling you, so you don't like allow yourself to experience any of it. You're just you're constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. So
right, it's like a fucking street magician walks up to you, and you're like, "What are you?"
Yeah,
up to?
What is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the game?
It's the street magician of films. There we go.
Yeah. Should we go to the next one?
Yeah.
The birthday cake. What do you guys think?
This is a fascinating trailer. It appears to be a very small crime drama about like a mafia movie about some young guy and on his entrenched surrounding mob family of very famous character actors.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer's in it, and I guess in a non-speaking role.
I don't know if he can speak yet.
No, he's lost his ability to speak legibly.
Right.
I don't know. I assume most listeners know that he had throat cancer, and took out his vocal cords or part of his tongue or whatever, and he can't. Otherwise, seems to be doing fine, but he can't talk. So in this, like, you see him in this trailer, but you never hear him say anything. So like he's just there, just being silent. But the trailer is full of familiar faces. Not Brad Pitt, but it's like a bunch of people who are veteran actors, and it's this like mafia type crime movie. But the director this is like his first anything. Like he writer director. So I'm always interested in how projects like this come together. It's like, how did he get everyone to be in his?
Sometimes, I don't know. Maybe it's like a Reservoir Dog situation where you just it's a good script and you just get the script to the right person, and that's how all these people get involved.
From what I can tell, looking at his background, this director, music videos, worked with Miley Cyrus and so on and so forth. A lot of the time the answer is money, right? Like, I remember being like, how did Being John Malkovich get made? And then you look into it and you're like, oh yeah, he has money.
He's got money and good representation.
Yeah. So I think it's maybe one producer who's like, I really want this to happen. Also, I highly suspect that they're in it for maybe a couple scenes.
Oh.
It really feels that way from the trailer, doesn't it? Like, even Ewan McGregor, like, it's mostly that one guy. And so I wonder if they were like, we can afford one known actor or a lot of really known actors for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Be on set for an hour.
Yep.
Yeah. But I certainly yelped when Val Kilmer showed up.
Oh yeah, he's there, man.
Yeah. Didn't expect Val Kilmer's face, but yeah, I don't know. It's so weird because we've run into a few movies like this where it's like the director hasn't done anything, and it has some famous actor. I think there's also an element of like, I think like J.J. Abrams was like working for decades before anybody knew his name.
Yeah, he wrote regarding Henry.
Yeah, and we just didn't know him, and then he had worked up the ladder enough for they're like, yeah, have a movie. Here's a movie for you. So I don't know. It could be so many different things.
I mean, it's a legit strategy. We wouldn't be talking about this movie for any other reason if Val Kilmer and Ewan McGregor weren't in the trailer.
This could also be a good movie.
Yeah.
Like, trailers, there's no way to know, but this it seems like it's just a mob movie. It has to do with a guy reluctantly bringing a cake to his uncle's house.
Yeah.
And it's like a family tradition, and then they seem to be plugged into the mob. There seems to be some sort of insidious stuff going on, but that's really, I don't know. It doesn't tell too much, which is good.
It almost comes across like it's almost in real time. Like it's like the whole movie is about him taking this cake across town, and then all the craziness unfolds in the course of that one. So I don't know. It could be interesting. What platform is it going to be out on? Does it say?
It doesn't. So this might just be in theaters and on demand. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it said. So I'm guessing a small theatrical release. I think this is like how indie films used to be, right? Small theatrical release and then on streaming for most of the people who can see it. So
it's the thing is on streaming. Like I used to assume everything would eventually come to like Amazon Prime, for example. Nowadays, increasingly not true. Increasingly, like people recommend a horror movie, and I'll find out it's a Shudder exclusive. It's not on Prime, or you're getting more of this fragmentation. And it was just with A Quiet Place 2, I saw like the good reviews for it, and thought, you know what? I remember that first one being pretty good. So I started bringing up all of my various streaming services, trying to figure out, now, is this an HBO Max Warner Brothers thing, or is this on Prime? I was like, oh, it's not on any of them. Does it not this weekend that it comes out? And then finally realized, oh, it's still in theaters. This is the way they used to do it. It's going to be in theaters for months, and then months later it'll be on streaming. And I was almost like offended. It's like,
right,
what?
How dare they?
It is. It's we've talked about this before, but like there was a time when literally the government went to the theaters and was like, you can't also own the movies. That's a problem, and we really need to do that again.
We need to get back to that. Yeah.
Where it's like pick a lane. Are you a streaming platform that like offers rentals, or are you a production company? And you need to pick which. And you need to be, because it is that problem where, like I've said this about Apple TV, seems great. Never seen anything on it because I just don't have Apple TV.
I don't have Disney Plus right now. Our next trailer is for that Picard, the Jean-Luc Picard show, the second season of that. That's on freaking Paramount Plus. I'm sorry. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Why on earth do you think I would get that?
If you want to have it show up on Prime or whatever on a delayed basis, that's one thing. I've never seen it on there. As far as I know, it can only be found on Paramount Plus. I guess I'm told in the notes here that CBS All Access is no longer a thing. It's now Paramount Plus.
Yeah, it became Paramount Plus, yeah.
I didn't know that CBS and Paramount were even the same company.
Yeah.
Right.
Viacom.
Shows what I know. So like I've capped out on I've got Apple because I got it for free with I think my iPhone. So I saw Ted Lasso, but that's it, I think. But this is it's too much. There's no way there's enough shows on Paramount Plus. We can talk about Picard. Is the Picard show, is it good?
No,
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either. I'm going by my parents, who are huge Star Trek fans, and they are way more forgiving of the new stuff than I am. Like, like the Star Trek Discovery they enjoy. That's a show I hate. They were just straight up like, yeah, it sucks, which they rarely do. So I'm guessing it's very bad. And
aren't you excited
really
to see very old Q?
Yeah, I am very excited to see very old Q, and I think so. Paramount Plus, you can now get it as like an add-on on Amazon, which all of these services should do. I mean, it sucks, but Amazon is in charge of everything. Yes, nobody likes it, but like, yeah, you gotta have to have your streaming service available, So I might watch the Picard show, but from what I've heard, the first season, it's just considering that it's invoking TNG, it's completely missing the point of it too. From what I heard, and what I mean is like in this show, Picard is like seems to be really close to Data, and it's like, but he wasn't Data's friend in the series. Stuff like that, where they like it feels like the writers didn't watch the
and they
Next
probably
Generation.
literally did not
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the writing team they assembled, like, were you fans of the original show? Probably not something that even comes up. I don't think that's how it works. It's did you work on other successful shows, not are you a Trekkie or whatever. But I remember the trailers for the first season of Picard. There was a woman and she was like doing a lot of kung fu.
Yeah.
And then there was a shot of like 7 of 9 with a blaster in each hand, like mowing down a room full of people. And it's like, oh, okay, this is the movie Star Trek TNG, where it's an action hero. Picard's an action hero thing. Obviously, he's too old to do the action hero stuff now, but it's like not the show, which the whole point is that a TV show can be made affordable because you can have an episode where they're just trapped in the Enterprise by some alien thing, and then they have to think their way through it and solve some philosophical puzzle. Like that was the entire Star Trek thing for like 50 straight years, but not anymore.
No,
because Discovery, it's all these massive space battles and it's mediocre CGI. And it's like, okay, is there just no market for...
Yeah, it's J.J. Abrams cruised through the Star Trek franchise and made it Star Wars.
Yeah.
But, like, it is exactly what you're saying. It's so funny because a Picard show with Patrick Stewart at this age, not unrealistic because of what you're saying, where he's like, he was never an action hero.
No.
So, like, you can have him do,
be like a
do
diplomat,
a story.
having to solve, like, these high-stakes alien things. Like, again, it's not like in the show they were just sitting around drinking tea. They were trying to prevent a planet from being exploded. But the way they figured it out was they sat down and figured it out. It wasn't they weren't being chased through a tunnel that was blowing up behind them. They weren't clinging off of a platform. As a J.J. Abrams thing, where I swear like 6 times a movie, Kirk would wind up dangling from a platform.
Right.
Because that is like the only action beat. It literally opens with him running his car off a cliff inexplicably and dangling off the cliff.
Yeah.
A thing that I don't think has ever happened to a human being in the history of the planet. Like, I don't think anyone has ever wound up
those.
No, you don't. It doesn't work. But it's just like that's the only thing he could think of is like the only way to put these to add drama to this scene and have these characters in peril is to have them dangling off a platform high above the ground. And
it's thinking back on the TNG episode Measure of a Man, where the entire episode is that Picard has to, in a courtroom, prove that Data is sentient. And that it was more thrilling than any goddamn cliff, any explosion. Like, it's
Inner Light.
God damn.
And any of the classic episodes, City on the Edge of Forever, which is original series, like, none of them are action.
And they just got led so far astray by those movies, because the movies, they're whatever, like, it's like, okay, sure,
they're Star Wars.
Yeah, they're Star Wars. And
it's fine, but it's not why I like Star Trek.
And you got to be, you have to make a trailer, and even the pre-TNG, Star Trek movies, they were also more action. The Wrath of Khan has big space battles. Like, I get it, bigger budget. You got to make a trailer out of it. You got to get people to actually leave their homes. I get it, but there's no reason why. I don't know. Is there really no market for what the original show was? It's not like there are no thoughtful TV shows anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that is sort of was the motivation behind the Orville, which, judge it however. I don't know. I think they're in between seasons, which takes like years now. But like, that was basically Seth MacFarlane being like, okay, well, if they're not going to make TNG, I'll make TNG. And like, it's barely a comedy later on in the series, because it's clear that he sold it as like, ooh, it's like a TNG spoof, and then he's just slowly just doing TNG.
He's just like, I just want to make TNG.
Yeah, and like, I appreciate that. It's like, there is a market for it, especially with the nostalgia of TNG, of people who grew up with it, and it's like, it's right there. You have it. You have the property. Patrick Stewart. You have Patrick Stewart. You have the whole cast. You got Q showing up. I don't know why he's old. I assume it's
because he's making fun of Picard. Yeah,
exactly. I assume
that's easy.
Yeah, he loves to show up in the captain's uniform. So yeah. But it's like, yeah, just fucking maybe this season will be better. It's clear it's a time travel season, so that's that could go a lot of ways. But it does appear from the poster they're time traveling to now, which is very funny because I was like, oh, how convenient for your budget.
Yeah,
that you're time traveling to the time that we're in.
I mean, that's Star Trek. There's an episode of the original series where they're like gangsters. There's always a Nazi episode. Like,
right.
This is just a thing that they do.
Because they have the outfits. It's just very funny that they're like, we time travel to now. And it's like, oh, yeah. Yep. But again, Voyage Home did the same thing, and I love that stupid movie.
Perfect film.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart is extremely old in this trailer.
He's very old.
He is very old.
I mean, just like his voice sounds like he's struggling to speak, and maybe it's just in that scene he's supposed to be unwell, but it's... I'm not trying to be ageist or whatever, but I like am concerned for him.
Right.
It's like he's very old. Makes me feel very old. Q, the ageless being, is very old. I get it. I know time marches on. They can't do anything about that, but he's very old.
Data in season 1, very old. And that's one of those things. Brent Spiner was the one who was like, we need to kill off Data. I'm getting old. Like, you can't explain that. I'm the whole thing about me is I don't age.
It's the old robot.
Yeah, old robot. No one wants an old robot.
Keep cranking out old Terminators. Yeah, Patrick Stewart is literally 80. He's gonna turn 81 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Even Star Trek Generations, my favorite goddamn finale is watching 3 guys who are like 60 battling on rocks, and I was just like, guys, be careful, you could slip. Like, if one of you slips, that's it.
Yeah, which it makes Kirk's death unintentionally funny because they have this dummy clinging to a catwalk that explodes and goes spinning off screen, and just the knowledge that it's supposed to be like 62-year-old William Shatner clinging to that thing.
Amazing.
Anyway.
So yeah, but Picard Season 2, get ready for it, folks.
Get ready for some old people.
Yeah. Again, can't stress this enough, old people doing action.
Like, if it was old people doing Star Trek, fine.
Right. Yeah, old people doing Star Trek, that's great.
Because a ship's admiral is an old guy. Like in the Navy, that's an old guy, because he's not
Captain's
out there
an old guy, usually.
Like fighting hand to hand. He's up there making the decisions with 2,000 people on his vessel. You know, and he dispatches people to go. He doesn't beam down to the island to go fight. Anyway, at the end of people listening, maybe the season will be really good. Even season 1 is really bad. I will never know unless they release it from Paramount Plus. Yeah. Until the day comes when they consolidate all of these services, which will happen in the next 5 years.
Oh yeah.
The same thing that happened to our industry. It's consolidation is coming. It has to. The customers will demand it. We demand.
Oh yeah,
it's cable TV. We'll give a tech billionaire $2 billion in 5 years to invent cable again.
Yeah, it's an app that lets you. I know YouTube TV is trying to do it, but even then, it's messy. I have it myself. It's a messy process to get. You never know what you actually have access to. Trying to watch sports on here is crazy because they still had the stupid blackout rules from 1965, where it's like you can't watch the game locally because we want you to go to the game instead. It's like, that's certainly not going to happen. Anyway, but the entire episode has been just basically preliminary leading up to Pig.
Yes.
Yep. The main event.
Basically have wasted the listeners' time because this was all intro leading up to Pig, which I know a lot of them probably don't know what this is, but they will soon.
Yep, Pigcast.
Pigcast.
So I want to start with a problem with Nicolas Cage. I love Nicolas Cage. We all love Nicolas Cage. Mm-hmm. But he is becoming a meme in of himself, so he can't just be in a movie. You know what I mean? Like, I get that this premise is funny on its, like, without Nicolas Cage, it's already a funny premise. But I feel like the headlines are always, Nicolas Cage is going to be in a movie about blank. And that's part of the punchline, is like, and it's Nicolas Cage. And I get it. because he appears in some pretty wacky movies. But yeah, this is about a truffle farmer who loses his prized pig, and it becomes a John Wick. Well, no, I shouldn't say John Wick, because on Wikipedia, this is defined as a drama.
No,
this is a drama.
It never once appears like it's going to be an action movie.
Yeah, and he's trying to get his pig back. And this is what I mean is, like, this might be like you kind of noted, Jason, this could be like a really meaningful movie, and people are going to go into it like, oh, this is going to be batshit, I can't wait, and they might accidentally just watch like a drama.
Yeah, because let's be clear, the premise is Nicolas Cage plays a guy who lives in the wilderness hunting truffle mushrooms with his pig, and his pig gets stolen, and he ventures out to get the pig back. And that sounds like the wackiest, goofiest, like intentionally dumb, like, oh, it's Nicolas Cage again. If you then watch the trailer, it looks like Oscar bait.
Yeah.
It's about this guy who was like a high-end chef, and for some reason he abandoned his relationship and creativity with the food, and he abandoned the industry to go out and live by himself with his pig, and then the pig got taken. Now he has to go back, and the whole thing with this seems to be about isolation and about being unwilling to the relationship between creator and audience. It seems like there's some of that in there. It's all played dead straight, very emotional. I have no idea if this is supposed to be an ironic, wacky movie. And you know else who has no idea? Nicolas Cage. I guarantee you, to this day, he could not tell you which of his movies are supposed to be stupid and which ones are dead serious.
It's what makes them great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's like,
because you can't can't fake that quality.
Yeah, I wonder if he gets to, like, when he sits down and watches it, he's like, oh, I guess that was an action film. Like, do you think he finally figures it out eventually?
I don't know.
Or he never knows. But yeah, I think this is going to be, I think a lot of people are going to be bummed, because I'm seeing headlines. There's one that's, don't you dare steal Nicolas Cage's pig. They're all the headlines are like, who can, be funny. And I don't think
the trailer
this is a funny
not
movie.
Funny. No.
Yeah, and I don't think I don't think it'll even be a bad or stupid film. Like, I think it might just be a good movie.
Yeah.
And they even chose the title Pig. I think somebody did, because that would go viral as opposed to if they called it, the Truffle Hunter or the artist, or not the artist, that's already a movie, but or something like that's more like Oscar Beatty type. They're calling it Pig, not even the pig, but just Pig. And then it's Nicolas Cage, and like the parallels to John Wick or whatever. I think that's all on purpose.
Probably.
This is that thing they do where which we've talked about already, like the marketing, you're not sure what they're going for necessarily. So I think you're right. I think a lot of people who watch it are not going to know what to think. Again, does it indicate where we will be able to see this movie?
No.
I don't know.
No.
Probably in theaters and everywhere.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to start assuming that most stuff, like, because movies are back.
Yeah.
I saw a whole video from Vin Diesel telling me so. No, it's, as restrictions continue to be relaxed and more people are getting vaccinated and theaters start opening back up, we're going to have to kind of slowly start reverting back to normal, I guess, where it's like we're just assuming
if you want theaters to exist, yes. Like, you should be rooting for, this is me being a jerk. It's like, because I'm going to sit here. The fact that rewinding back to when I watched the original Matrix trilogy, because I was really into that series. It really disappointed in the sequels, but I was there opening night. I saw these movies multiple times. If you could have told me back in 2003 or whatever year Revolutions came out, that The Matrix 4 is a movie that's just going to pop up on my TV in the background while I'm doing something else on my computer.
Yep.
Yeah.
That it's still going to cost, it's going to be the same crew, same cast, $200 million, same directors, producers, all that. It's just that it's going to pop up on my screen. It's like this thing that plays in the background while I'm typing or looking at my phone. I would have thought, you're nuts. Like, what has happened? Why did the franchise fall so far? But it's not that. It's like the world has changed so much since then.
Yeah.
And that's how I saw Godzilla versus Kong. It was just I throw it on the screen while I'm in this thing. They spent 2 years and $250 million making, and it's just this series of colors flashing across my screen in the background while I'm like browsing Twitter on my desktop. It's so dumb. It's like this is
eating individually wrapped slices of cheese while it's playing.
But it is
like having a conversation with somebody else, like the people who made that movie who sweated over it, and all the sweatshops where they had to make all the 8 different effects companies that they drove into bankruptcy making the effects for that movie.
Yes.
Like those people probably would hate my guts if they saw how I experienced it.
Yeah, but sometimes, like, me and Tom have talked about this. Is like we just did a review of The Conjuring 3, and it's like, man, I'm glad I didn't it's good to have the option of going into theaters, but there's some movies where it's like,
yeah,
I'm good. I'm good here. Like Godzilla, that's supposed to be for theaters, but I was just like, look, I'm not a big fan of these. I'd rather just watch them in my living room. Meanwhile, Mortal Kombat, I was like, oh, I'll be there. I'll be there fucking front and center for Mortal Kombat in theaters because it gives us that option at least. Which I don't know if that's good or bad, but as a consumer, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
To make that decision. I want both, but I know that that's going to hurt theaters, obviously.
Yeah, they can't. That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So and again, not to further ruin your agenda here, but what is coming aside from Fast and Furious 9?
Yes.
What's the big theater only things? Because this is now just June. Like we've still got all of June and then all of July. Like typically you've got a giant July 4th release in a normal year. I know this is still not a normal year. What's still coming that's the big theater only stuff aside from Fast 9?
This summer?
It's hard to tell theater only.
Yeah, theater only, not much.
Because I can tell you that Black Widow's coming out. I don't think that's coming to streaming.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Okay.
And it's same day on Disney Plus.
Oh,
Jesus
right.
Christ.
But I'm not going to. And are those the movies on Disney Plus where you have to then buy on top of paying for Disney Plus? Some of them are.
I think Black Widow is. Luca is not. Luca, if you got those people listening to this, Luca, which is the new Pixar movie, is just going to be available on Disney Plus starting today as you're listening to this. So you don't need to pay anything extra for that. But I think Black Widow is one of the premium things that you have to shell out $30 extra for.
Jesus Christ.
What?
Yep.
Yeah. What about the Suicide Squad?
That's going to be on HBO Max as well.
When? Is that summer?
Yeah, August.
Oh, okay. So kind of in that post-summer.
This is probably not big for a lot of people.
Like James Bond's been pushed back. Mission Impossible and the Green Knight's a big one. That's one. That's why I swear I saw the trailer 5 years ago.
Oh yeah,
it was like 2 years
delayed.
ago. Yeah.
It's coming out end of July, and I assume A24. I don't think they have any deals where they're like putting that on streaming. That's weird to think that that's the first only theatrical release.
Yeah. I think
next.
the new Candyman is going to be theater only.
That's in October, yeah.
It's in August right now.
In the fall. I was trying to think of if I was, because I've not been back to the theater yet. I'm fully vaccinated now. I was trying to see, what's the thing that would get me back into the theater, if not A Quiet Place 2, which I don't know that I have to see that in a theater, but it's like, what's the big... But stuff has still been pushed back. James Bond has been pushed back, like I mentioned. Mission Impossible was pushed back to Christmas. I'm trying to figure out, what's the big Dune? When is Dune coming?
November.
Yeah.
November.
You could check out Snake Eyes, the G.I. Joe sequel.
Yeah,
That's coming out in July.
So this summer was really barren, wasn't it? I guess I thought they had... they must have not been confident enough that... But you're seeing some decent grosses. Like, you're seeing stuff that have pretty big openings again, but...
I think it's like they just didn't know, right?
Yeah,
so
it's a lot of people hedging their bets.
Yeah, so they were just like, we'll release everything on streaming and in theaters and see if people are going outside, and so I think that what we're gonna get for the year. So like, yeah, Dune, the ones that they're like, no, only in theaters. They've just been holding out on us. And I wish things worked where they could be like, push it forward now and be like, okay, you can see Dune this summer, but I know you can't do that.
Yeah, the marketing machine, and you got to set up all the press and
the
stuff.
bookings too at the theaters.
Yeah. Although, man, you would think the theaters would be so thirsty for.
Oh yeah.
Not if they've already
Mission
agreed to
Impossible.
something else in that same time frame.
Yeah, but what would it be? What's like if
I don't know.
if I looked at Fandango right now, what would I find? I'm trying to think of what else is even like. Is it all just a bunch of stuff that's also on my TV?
Probably.
Right. But I'm sure that's how the deals work. Like, imagine if Dune came out and you were locked in an IMAX deal with Snake Eyes, and you and your theater's just sitting there like, come on,
right.
guys.
Don't you want to see Snake Eyes?
That'd be such a bummer.
I mean,
so
I
the
do,
G.I. Joe
but,
movies
yeah.
were a
Yeah.
big enough deal that they not only this is not a sequel; it's a spinoff.
It's a spin-off
So
slash
they made
prequel.
that kind of
Yeah.
money.
I don't know, honestly. I haven't really been keeping abreast of the G.I.
Because the
Joe
kids
film.
these
think-
days don't care about Snake Eyes, right?
Oh,
like
God,
the kids,
no.
I
Well,
went and found
I
a
think-
teenager
I
and
think-
asked him who Snake Eyes is.
I think maybe not in this country is usually
Okay.
what I suspect, right?
Yeah.
Is like another country it's doing really well and they're like, yeah, let's keep going. That's always what I assume with these movies where I'm like, why are these happening? You seem to have a budget. But yeah, Pig.
Yeah, Pig.
When's it
had a
coming
re-
out? Does it have a date on it?
Let's see. July 16th.
Ooh, soon.
Ooh. Yeah, this director, I looked him up. He's done a bunch of like fairly serious shorts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, be prepared. He
It's
wrote
not-
and directed this. So,
not
you know.
always a great sign when the first time you hear about a movie is like 3 weeks before it opens.
Right.
I hope
true,
it's great.
yeah.
I will watch it the moment it pops up on one of my screens, unless it's on Paramount Plus or on Disney Plus.
Disney
which
Plus,
I-
yeah. Any of the
Sure.
pluses. Jason's
What,
taken a hard stance against that little plus sign.
Any of the other ones that are so niche that it's like there's no way your library is going to be worth
Right.
it. The stuff you've yanked off Netflix that now I can't get. It's like, well, but that's because Frasier now lives on whatever, Fox Plus. Like, okay.
right.
I guess I'll just never see that anymore.
Don't need my tossed salad and scrambled eggs that badly.
Show that
Not to
they're
deviate-
rebooting.
Wait, are they?
Oh, hell yeah.
God.
Yeah. So,
Yes,
it's not with young Frasier. It's just Kelsey Grammer,
Of
which
course.
is crazy because you would think the money plane cash would have.
Right. He can retire.
Yeah.
He
that's-
wouldn't. But
And Frasier reboot, I hope it's all action like Picard.
Yes. Please
Yeah.
make it all action.
Yeah. What was the movie? I hate to deviate us more, but like, remember when a movie there was like a sequel or something big announced, and then we learned it was coming out like the next week too.
I don't.
That it was like Blair Witch or something, where like it was like we're getting another Blair Witch. Also, it's like tomorrow, which was they did it intentionally as a marketing stunt. Is like you're getting a sequel. Also, you're getting it right now.
Blair
And I
Witch
thought that
was-
did that, yeah.
Was it Blair Witch? I do like that, and I kind of want more movies to do that.
Like the surprise album drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine if they were like never told us about Fast 9 until a week before it came out.
Just
That would have been
showed up.
wild.
It turned out they had another Star Wars movie in their pocket
Yeah.
after. It's like they explained everything. That the last movie was just a dream.
All right, let's get into news stories.
Yeah, let's
we
do
got
it.
some more. We got some more patrons to thank. Thank you to the Kool-Aid Molotov says, "Fill me with the blood of your billionaires and drink deep, my brothers."
Sure.
That's a new name change.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kool-Aid Molotov. You seem to be getting more extreme every week. Thank you to E.T., the extravagant terresticle. Thank you to Cody Johnston's time machine noise. Thank you. Thank you to Pete Vorpagel. Thank you to Glitterous.
Ooh.
Thanks for having Jason Pargin on. Here's $25. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you to the Midnight Patron with patrons at midnight. Thank you.
Let me jump in here. Thank you to Exploding Runes. Thank you to Andrew.
Thank you.
Andrew How. Thank you to Vincent with a Y.
Thank you.
Thank you to Rev MD. Thank you to Dr. DNA.
Thank you.
Thank you to Glorin Gucci.
Thank you.
And thank you to Bootler Bootlesson.
Thank you.
Here's $25, guy. I do try to make these worth it. I do try to show up prepared in most cases, and yeah.
Oh no, this person is getting their $25.
Yeah, Jason, do you want like a cut of that? Is that something we need to discuss? All right, I want to talk about this Blumhouse remaking Christine the Killer Car.
Sure.
That's a movie that you remember as being terrible, and then if you go back and watch, it's still not amazing, but it's John Carpenter.
There's some cool stuff in it, yeah.
Yeah, and I invite an entire Christine series because why not, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's from Brian Fuller, who's the person who did Hannibal.
Okay.
And also, I think, like, season 1 of Star Trek Discovery.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
bit of a roller coaster there in terms of quality.
No, he is a very competent maker of things. The Hannibal show was spectacular.
I very much liked it. Yeah,
I feel like it exceeded even like Silence of the Lambs in every way. Christine is a movie and a book that is like distinctly of its time.
Yeah,
it's got like that 70s era high school bullying where the bullies like would pull a switch knife on you and try to kill you in the bathroom.
It's also Stephen King. All of his bullies are just fucking psychopaths that are just on the verge of murder.
Yeah, he grew up in an era where that was straight up a thing. They did not have metal detectors at the doors. It's your bullies tried to kill you. So it's a paper thin premise for a movie and a book. But the book is more about bullying in high school and about like this kid finding, that's Carrie again. It's only instead of telekinesis, it's a car. That's it. There was a period where Stephen King was just writing books as fast as he could because everyone who wrote would sell millions and millions of copies. So he was just cranking them out, and I fully respect that. But in terms of it translating to a movie that people will watch in 2022 or whatever, I don't know. It just
they're
feels
gonna have
like
to. Oh, sorry.
Well, it's just like nothing about that premise. It just screams like it's iconic. It's like it's a haunted car. It's
very silly. Yeah,
I think they're gonna lean into the irony, right? They're gonna lean. This is a movie that should have Nicolas Cage.
Maybe Brian Fuller's stuff doesn't really do that. Like,
right, and
I suspect his version of this movie is going to go more internal, if that makes sense.
Well, it does, because in Christine, the car changes Arnie, the main character.
Yes.
And that's the thing you forget about Christine, is that it's not just like, just a series of slasher moments with a car. It's possessing Arnie. And so, yeah, I can see, part of me hopes they do the non-ironic version, because I think that's more challenging, and I respect it more when they're like, no, we'll make this scary. And you can kind of make Christine scary. I mean, getting hit by a car, not fun. It's not fun.
Oh,
so, like,
it is not fun.
Yeah.
Something terrible just hit me. Oh, I don't want to backtrack, but when we were talking about like updating this, like, is this something that still makes sense in 2021? It just occurred to me while I was thinking that thought. Frasier is going to have a podcast.
Of course he is. Of course
It's going to be a show about his podcast, and it's going to be, oh God.
It'll be like that hit sitcom Alex Inc. starring Zach Braff. You remember the show where he like
I do not.
He launches his podcasting empire from like a loft hangar?
I do not. I do not remember.
Otherwise
such a thing.
known as the worst kind of environment to try to record sound in.
That's amazing.
It was from like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, on that note, are you implying that Christine will be a self-driving car? Because like the new Chucky, they did that where they're like, it's a robot, which was kind of a clever idea.
It's going to be an autonomous self-driving car, and the self-driving software is going to be. We'll see. I think Brian Fuller is aware of themes, and the theme here is very like. There's a reason Stephen King kept coming back to it, where it's like somebody who has been like bullied and then when they get the chance to bully other people, they just become monsters. And that's the thing we've seen with Gamergate. Like, when nerds have a chance to kick somebody, it's terrifying, because all of that bullying, it's like, oh, all I ever wanted was to bully someone else. And that's what Christina's about. Like that anger just twists him, and now that he has this power, he becomes drunk with it and just starts taking it out on like the people who tormented him, but at the cost of his soul. It's a very simple message, but it's also something that resonates with people who sit at home and read horror novels. It's something I think Brian Fuller understands. So yeah, I think this could be good. I have faith. I also have faith in
too.
Elijah Wood in the Toxic Avenger remake.
Hell
that
yes.
is a movie that there is no chance that will disappoint. I cannot imagine that. I don't know.
This is actually, because I was
You were
skeptical
against this,
about
yeah.
this. Well, because I think what made the Toxic Avenger a hit is that trauma sensibility. I think I even talked about it at the time.
Yeah.
We talked about movies like The Greasy Strangler being like, it has a certain style to it that that the Toxic Avenger also kind of had, and making a mainstream Toxic Avenger, I don't think it works without those sensibilities, because otherwise it's just kind of a superhero movie. The moment Elijah Wood gets involved with his weird ass taste, I'm like, oh, okay.
I
Like
mean,
something about that. He produced
Mandy.
Mandy. Yeah, he's produced so many weird movies. Then I'm like, oh, if it gets the Elijah Wood seal of approval, then I'm in.
He's had like the perfect career where he got
really
rich.
has, yeah.
Same thing with Daniel Radcliffe. They got rich very young off of a mega franchise, and then devoted their time to making weird stuff that they wanted to see brought into the world that otherwise would not have gotten funding, otherwise not have gotten made. That is the dream to me. The dream to me is not to be Tom Cruise, just keep getting more and more and more famous and crazier with time. It's you hit something big early, and then you devote the rest of your life to making stuff, making cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so this, I don't know.
Yeah,
This-
no,
this looks great.
as soon as they were like, we're doing a Toxic Avenger remake, I was like, and they're like, and we cast Peter Dinklage. I was like, okay.
Okay,
And
go
it's just
on.
like everybody they keep adding to this movie. It's just like, I need to see this immediately. So yeah, Elijah Wood getting thrown in there is just another like, yeah, I want to watch this movie like right now.
Cool
Yeah,
stuff
I'm
still being
really
made.
into it.
We don't want we don't ever want to come in here and act like it's not. It is. It's just it's discouraging sometimes, because you'll see something. It's like, man, this should have been like a monster hit, and instead I'm finding it buried on my Netflix recommendations or whatever. And like this movie, I have no idea if it will get any kind of a release, if it'll make its money back, but stuff is still getting made.
Yeah. And this director did a indie called I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, which went to Netflix, which had Elijah Wood in it.
Elijah Wood in it. Yep.
Very
He
good.
also-
a very
yeah,
good
he-
movie. It's,
Yeah,
I have tremendous, because the tone of that movie, it nails this perfectly. It's exactly what you want. Yeah, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, so I think I can sleep tonight knowing that this is out
It's
there
in good
being
hands.
made. Yeah, it's in good hands, and that makes me feel good.
Kevin Bacon's also in it, in case you guys didn't know that.
Yeah, he must be the
He has
villain,
to be
right?
the bad guy, right? Yeah.
I don't know, because now here comes Elijah
Here comes
Wood.
Elijah Wood. Who knows what the fuck he's going to be doing in this movie? He could be anything.
Recommendation for listeners out there: there's a movie on Netflix starring Kevin Bacon called Cop Car.
Ooh, yeah.
That is fantastic.
Oh yeah, I still haven't seen that.
From
yeah.
a pre Spider-Man. The director went on to do the Spider-Man movies, I believe, the new ones. This is his indie movie. It is a beautiful, taut thriller that is almost a perfect movie for what it is. It's yeah.
Yeah. Well, so we have one more thing, and then I have to say there's some surprise news that just popped up. But you put in here about Facebook with the Oculus games putting ads.
Yeah,
And
this is a
that's
Verge
a
article
bummer.
from yesterday. Yeah, that they're going to start using your data from your Oculus usage, which again, I do not own one of these. You do, and they're going to start putting Facebook ads in there, including on apps that you paid for. To be clear, this
Yeah.
is not to fund free to play stuff. This is This was the end game for Facebook. I guess. Why did they buy Oculus? Like, what did they do it for?
Yeah, when I heard they bought it, I was like, oh, good, they're going to ruin it. Great. And that's just a bummer. I noted in here, like, they refuse to let you stream on Twitch because they're like, no, you got to do Facebook Live. And it's like, nobody is watching games on Facebook Live. Just join the world and do Twitch, which is owned by Amazon. So, like, it's all bad. But, like, yeah, they're going to... This is what I was saying, that it's feeling more like phone games, too. Because they're just... You go on the Oculus store and they're just blasting them out, and like there's some really good games like every now and then. Luckily, until they change this, you can plug your Oculus into your computer and play Steam VR games that way, so it doubles as like, or rather, I have an Oculus Quest which is standalone, but it'll double as a Rift, and you can, so that's good. You could at least still play like indie games, but yeah, this is a real bummer.
Yeah, I mean, we're just one step closer to the Minority Report future, where billboards track our retinas and give us personalized ads.
Yeah, but like murders will be solved then, Tom.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
Yeah.
I can't complain about that.
Yeah. I want to break this news. Breaking news. Zack Snyder just tweeted Batman going down on Catwoman with the words canon.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay.
Sure.
You win, Snyder.
I guess.
You win. It's fine. He jumped on it.
Surely some of your listeners don't know what this is about because they don't live on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, what happened is there was the Harley Quinn show. Mm-hmm. There was a scene rejected where Batman goes down on Catwoman, and the rejection was noted, quote, heroes don't do that, which is the funniest part.
Yeah.
That's very funny. But I would argue that they're half right. I don't think Batman would do that because he's Batman. He's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne
like
would
Tom,
not
you're
do
more
that.
of an expert on this, but like Bruce Wayne doesn't seem like a giving partner.
Well, Batman doesn't, but Jeff and I already talked about this on the other.
Okay, sorry, Tom. Sorry.
Like Batman isn't, but like Batman wears the mask of Bruce Wayne, and yeah,
right.
If he's trying to keep hiding as Bruce Wayne, yeah, he's going down on everyone.
That's fair, yeah.
But yeah, no, Batman himself is just like a weird gremlin. Like, I don't...
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, if I was running the Harley Quinn show and they had a scene where Batman was doing that, like, I can easily see... I would not use the phrase, heroes don't do that. And to be clear, they don't have, like, a copy of the email from the studio saying that.
Yeah.
These were the comedy writing team in charge of it were giving an interview and talking about, like, the freedom DC gave them, because people have not seen the Harley Quinn show. It's amazing. It's not like it's this very R-rated, NC-17 rated cartoon that's very bloody, and it's, you know, very frank about sex stuff. But I could easily see if I was in that position, them having seen where Batman's performing oral sex on a woman, saying, I don't know, does that feel like something Bruce Wayne / Batman would do? Like, that seems like fairly reasonable feedback, because I'm not sure I can necessarily see it. I'm not sure that fits with his personality. He feels like he would be kind of crappy in bed. I don't know.
There's that weird protecting a brand thing.
That's
like,
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like the Bruce Willis does this with like John McClane and so on and so forth, where it's like there's somebody who's in charge of that idea of like, would they or wouldn't they do this, and when it's across so many different shows, yeah, I can see why they get like stupid about it, but it just made such a delightful viral story.
It was an entire day. It was an entire day on Twitter, and I suspect that whichever of the writers was Justin Halpern or whoever said that really did not know that little throwaway bit of inside information would trend all day on Twitter and spawn feedback from, and Val Kilmer tweeted about it, and all these stars, because I'm sure that the executives at DC or whoever were not crazy about that being how the show gets promoted, because again, it was them saying no to it. But anyway, so as a result, it's now made it all the way to Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Saying that Batman would go down on Catwoman. I don't personally think he would. Again, not because that's not heroic enough, but for the opposite reason. I don't. That doesn't seem to fit with his.
Right.
I can name a lot of like fictional characters that I don't think would do that, and it's not because I don't. I don't approve. It's the opposite. It's like, no, he doesn't.
Right. He's a shitty asshole. Like, that's his defining characteristic.
Yeah.
He has no idea if he's ever made a woman orgasm. He just is not curious
He's never
about
even thought about it. Never even crossed his mind. Like, I think I wrote the joke where it was like, he's the type of gremlin that says sex complete and dives out the window. Like, that's how much of a Martian Batman is.
His mind is never 100% on it. He's on, he's thinking about crime the whole time. Like, it's kind of like an obligation.
Wasting all this time, I could be out there fighting crime.
It's not, I don't know. It's like, I feel like that's a valid.
It would also be awful. Like, I feel like you wouldn't want him to. Because it would be bad. Like, because he'd be thinking about all the 7-Elevens he could go protect from shoplifters, and it would just be, it would not be pleasant.
Anyway, I know you had this entire conversation on another podcast.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Because he's all beaten up. He's in pain all the time, presumably, right? Like, he's probably torn both of his ACLs at various points in time. Probably not super flexible. Anyway.
All right.
But the gadgets.
True.
He may have a gadget. He may have a series of gadgets.
Yeah, shaped like a bat. He probably has something for that.
Of course it's shaped. Yeah, everything is shaped like a bat.
So he may outsource that work. All right, we're just repeating the discourse that we just
right.
Listen, there's a lot of pouches on that utility belt.
I do think the Schumacher Batmans would, both George Clooney and Val Kilmer. I think both of them. There's enough.
That's because in the Joel Schumacher universe, everybody is fucking.
Everybody fucks. Yeah.
And I mean, like, that was actually the most surprising thing to me. And I guess it's probably because there's not a whole lot of nostalgia for Batman and Robin, because not a lot of people liked it when it came out. But there are like 4 or 5 pretty explicit oral sex jokes in that movie, and like I'm not seeing them pop up on the timeline anywhere. Anyway.
No. All right. We have some more producers to thank before we hit the 2-hour mark. Thank you to Tux.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Ricky Cilantro. Thank you to Norm from Cheers. Thank you. Thank you to Space McNulty. Thank you to Oh Great, It's That Guy. Thank you to Nolan Mayton. Thank you to Vaccinated Man Andrew McGuire. Congrats. Thank you to AJ. Thank you to Tip Drizzle. Thank you.
Let me jump in here. Thank you to Burrito Mouth. Thank you to Mrs. Voidus. Thank you to the Ghost of Dave Thomas. Thank you to Aaron Burser. Thank you to David Knife Boot Hinson, MBA, CPA. Thank you to Christopher Robert Sparts, Esquire.
Thank you.
Thank you to Mackenzie Fuck Shuffling with Willem Dafoe's confusingly large dick. Chill. That's an Antichrist reference for everybody that's been confused about that. Thank you to Vaccinated Jay.
Thank you.
And last but not least, thank you to Pie Guy.
Pie Guy.
Dave, we're 120 minutes in.
I've written nothing.
What fucking movie deserves more hype this week?
All right. This is a movie called Crypto Zoo. Mm-hmm. I'm on the fence about it, personally. It's coming out August 20th, 2021. That's this year. It's a cartoon. It's got a couple people in it. Michael Cera. I think Jason Schwartzman, I want to say, is in it. This is the director of it's like Help My High School Sinking into the Ocean. It's another very weird cartoon. This is about I guess a zoo. It's more like a sanctuary in a world where cryptids exist. Cryptids being, of course, like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster. Animals where their existence are debated and, probably not real. And the so there's the sanctuary, and the government begins to try to weaponize them to hurt the world, and these people are trying to stop it. Specifically, a Baku, which is a supernatural being that sucks up dreams, and they want to do this to brainwash people to be into capitalism, and that's where I'm like, because it gets kind of hipstery in the plot, and I'm like, whenever stuff gets like twee, it's that thing where it's like, this could go either way, because it's starting to get weird, and like it's very artsy and weird and dreamlike. Personally, I enjoy that stuff, but not everybody will. But I thought it was a fun premise. What did you guys think?
I think it's interesting. It's an animated film.
Did I not mention that?
I can't remember if you did or not.
That's important.
It's definitely experimental in terms of the style of animation. It goes between a few different styles. Some parts it looks very Monty Python, other parts it does not look like that. So it's interesting. It's definitely an eye-catching trailer. I don't know about this.
It's getting good reviews. It went around Sundance. Everybody liked it. But yeah, no one's really talked about it. And it's one of those premises that's like, this could have been a children's cartoon. This could have been a live action. Like, there's a lot of things you could have done with this premise. And I really like that initial premise a lot.
I mean, the premise could be a Pixar movie. You know, the idea if there's a zoo where all the cryptids live, and then, of course, the government wants to take them. And so you've got to. But this, I mentioned here, the trailer you've linked to is on their official, that's the studio's YouTube channel, and it came out 8 days ago and has 1,500 views.
Yeah.
So they need to rev up the publicity machine a little bit, but the art style is not anything you would ever see in a mainstream movie at all whatsoever. It's heavily stylized. It's that thing where the characters don't move very much, if it makes sense. Mm-hmm. There's like a lot of graphic nudity. It's clearly they had no interest in this being a big hit.
No, not at all.
What this premise is very easy to wrap your head around. The actual delivery, like, I find the art style a little hard to look at, but this is because it's a distinct style versus, every Pixar movie looks like a Pixar movie. Like, it's
right.
This is something that somebody made. I'm going to guess they spent years making it. Years and years is somebody's passion project that they've got 5 years in drawing it. If we can, somebody who's listening to this will probably watch it and it'll be their favorite thing they've ever seen in their life. And if we reached that one single person, then great.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly. And this is, the director and writer is Dash Shaw, which made my entire high school sinking into the sea, which I wanted to see. They both got like very good reviews from critics, up in the 70s and 80s. Critics love it. Audience score for that, the high school one, not so great. And that checks out because I just don't think it's for everyone. I think it's very stylized. And if you like what they're doing, you like it. Like, this is one of those where the trailer, you'll kind of know right away, right? Like, you'll be like, this is for me, or nah, too weird, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely very striking. So yeah, you will 100% know pretty quickly whether you're going to be into this movie or not.
Yeah. But check it out. Check out the trailer.
Yeah.
As Jason noted, their marketing's not great. They're,
that's why it deserves more hype.
Yep. This is true. This is very true.
Yeah, it is the definition of.
This
is. It's weird to think that in this day and age, like, you can make a full-on movie and like literally 370 people will see it. But I can guarantee you that some of those like horror movies you found at the very, very bottom of Prime or wherever you found it, like it made the film festival rounds, it got dumped to streaming, and less than 500 people actually watched it there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's wild. And this has celebrities in it too, and it's like, not enough.
Oh man. Well, I think that's a sode. I think we've done it.
Yeah.
Made the show twice as long as usual, but But we had some E3 in there, and the broader discussion I wanted to have that it's. I wish there was a big thing. Maybe the next big thing is that Amazon Lord of the Rings show that currently has a budget of $450 million for the first season.
Sure does for a single season.
Maybe that's the next big thing that will unify us all. But if maybe we will end this episode and then realize we forgot to talk about literally the biggest movie of the summer that we all just forgot about.
Right.
But I don't think so. We're in the post-COVID, a little bit of a crater here. Maybe next summer things will start to look more normal, or maybe as soon as this Christmas things will start to look more normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a thing we talked about last summer on when we were first looking at all the shifting release dates. Is with you on as a guest, Jason. We were like musing. Well, we move one thing, it's going to move everything. Because it's like ripples. So things for years out have now been adjusted.
And a lot of the stuff in that episode where we were talking about, oh gosh, that's been bumped to summer 2021. That's been bumped to summer 2021. A lot of that stuff is now winter 2021. Like that, like it didn't stay here. They kicked it out because it's like, no, we need to open Mission Impossible and we can make $100 million that weekend. Like this cannot be. This has got to be the full on. Theatrical receipts and then turn around and make even more from streaming 3 months later. So we'll see. But I thought things would be starting to look more normal come July 2021. I was wrong. We're now looking forward to Christmas for that.
Yeah, getting closer though.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right. We're all doing all right.
We're doing our best. Jason, thank you so much for doing the show. Is there anything you want to plug? What do you want to tell people about?
It's always still just my book every time until the next one comes out more than a year from now. So the book, if you have not heard previous episodes with me, is called Zoe Punches the Future in the Dick. Don't take my word for it. Google the title. Go look at user reviews on Amazon and elsewhere. Other people who are not family of mine and are not bots that I've paid to leave those reviews, they all seem to like it. So,
yeah, Dave.
Yeah, I just want to say I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So people should check it out. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. You can see exclusive podcasts on there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, and Star Trek: The Next Futurama. These are all podcasts exclusive to us, but also Small Beans for one of them. We watch movies. We watch movies every Friday night. We do all sorts of stuff.
What are you doing?
Look,
what are you doing to us?
It's hot. It's really hot.
All right. We also have a store, tpublic.com/store/gameplay unemployed. You can get t-shirts, masks, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. So check that out.
Check it out. Do the thing. Do the things.
Oh, God. All right. Let's go.
I hope, I would love it if like 5 years from now, if somebody's going back and listening to all the old episodes, they're like, why were they selling masks? What are they talking about?
I hope they just become a thing we all wear now.
Sounds freaky. It's like, why would they make a mask with their names on it?
No, I mean, it's a sex thing.
It's like a sex thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's 100%. We have masks that say it's a sex thing.
All right.
All right, say goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can follow him on Twitter at @thecorlew, CORLEW, and find more music at shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our artwork is produced by Justin Brown. You can follow him on Twitter at @JustinTBrown, and find more of his artwork at artnessbyjustinbrown.com and justinbrown.info.